Streaming right now at 5:30, Honoring Caleb. Tonight, 1 year after a deadly alleged hazing, a promise to never forget. Southern University moves to honor student Caleb Wilson in a powerful way. The emotional announcement and what happens next. Subpoenaed secrets. For the very first time in history, a former president is forced to testify under oath. What Bill Clinton told lawmakers about Jeffrey Epstein's plane and that infamous island. On the precipice, with families of U.S. personnel told to leave Israel, some lawmakers are demanding answers. The vice president's new comments on the chances of a long-term war. Picture of freedom, he was the most photographed man of his time, yet few knew him as a grandfather giving piggyback rides. We take you inside the home and the heart of Frederick Douglass. Hollywood hub, Emmy Award-winning comedian Cat Williams brings a big vision to students. The new film and AI production system he's opening doors for and changing the industry. Struggling with taxes? Well, help is here. IRS certified volunteers will be at the main library on Goodwood to walk you through your return, how to register, and what to bring. Life-saving play, an unexpected hit on the field leaves a seagull in trouble. See the captain's quick thinking that brought the bird back to life. And wonderful weather in store for the weekend. Henry Blake standing by with how long it will last.
You're watching WAFB's streaming newscast, live and local, with Dion Guillory. This is 9 News at 5:30.
All right, begin streaming tonight at 5:30 with this, the latest on your forecast, because it is shaping to be close to perfect. Great temperatures out there right now. So the weekend may also look this way. Meteorologist Henry Blakes is here with a preview. Henry.
Hey, we had a cold front that pushed through, gave some of us a pretty decent amount of rain this morning, but that front is just off the coast moving into the Gulf. Behind it, high pressure is settling in, and that's going to give us some nice weather over the weekend. Looking great out there in our Sky 9 camera, brought to you by our Lazy Lake. Check out downtown Baton Rouge, just a few passing clouds, but it is still warm out there. We are at 80 degrees, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Already down to 74 in Monroe, but we got 80s across majority of South Louisiana. New Orleans, 78, 77 for Hammond and Houma. Still at 80 in New Iberia, but eventually temperatures will cool down, not by much, but at least into the 70s by 6 o'clock. And then after 8 o'clock, that's where we should start to see more 60s on the map. For your wake-up weather Saturday morning, a little bit on the cooler side. We'll start out right around 50 degrees, but we could be dealing with a few areas of fog. So we'll talk more about that in your extended forecast later on.
All right, Henry, thanks. Well, in other news tonight, today marks 1 year since the passing of Caleb Wilson, a Southern University student and a member of the Human Jukebox who died during an alleged hazing incident. The 20-year-old was a junior majoring in mechanical engineering. He died last February after investigators say he was punched in the chest during an alleged hazing ritual at a warehouse while pledging Omega Psi Phi. In December, 5 suspects were indicted, facing charges ranging from obstruction of justice and principal to felony hazing and manslaughter. During today's Board of Supervisors meeting, Southern University announced that Caleb Wilson will still receive his degree. The university says Wilson will be awarded his degree posthumously during the upcoming spring commencement. The university remembers Wilson as, quote, a beloved member of Jaguar Nation, whose presence we continue to miss deeply. Developing tonight, former President Bill Clinton testifying that he did nothing wrong as he faced questions from congressional lawmakers about his relationship with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Torian Small at the Capitol Hill with the latest on this.
A motorcade believed to be former President Bill Clinton's arrived at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center Friday. Inside, he told the House Oversight Committee that he, quote, saw nothing and did nothing wrong in connection with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
President Clinton, as of right now, is cooperative and answering all of our questions.
In a prepared opening statement, Clinton said, as someone who grew up in a home with domestic abuse, not only would I not have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not sweetheart deals.
This is the first time a former president was forced to testify before Congress under subpoena. This comes after he and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton were threatened with contempt charges.
No one's accusing anyone of any wrongdoing, but I think the American people have a lot of questions.
In his prepared remarks, the former president, who appears in multiple photos in the Epstein files, also slammed the committee for dragging his wife into the investigation. She testified Thursday.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein.
Democrats on the committee want President Trump to testify.
This is not a hoax. He has not been exonerated, and we have serious questions for President Trump.
There are also bipartisan calls to hear from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. A photo shows him in the blue shirt and several others on Epstein's island. Lutnick has not been accused of any wrongdoing. Torian Small, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The U.S. military uses a controversial anti-drone laser system to shoot down a Customs and Border Protection drone in Texas. Now, that's according to a report from congressional representatives. It's not clear tonight when it happened, but as a result, the FAA is implementing a temporary flight restriction where it happened for safety. This comes just a couple of weeks after the airspace in El Paso, Texas, was temporarily closed for similar reasons. There's confirmation tonight that at least 2 people involved in the apparent shootout with Cuban authorities off the northern coast of the island were indeed American citizens. The State Department adds a 3rd person on that boat was in the U.S. on a visa and that the others might have been legal permanent residents.
We're going to have our own information on this, and we're going to figure out exactly what happened.
Cuban authorities say an American speedboat with 10 people on board opened fire on Cuban troops. They add the men on the boat were planning to carry out a terrorist attack and that they found assault rifles, handguns, Molotov cocktails, and bulletproof vests on board the boat. Meanwhile, CBS News has learned that the boat was reported stolen, according to a Florida sheriff's report. The vessel's owner says he believes the man who took it was an employee of his. 6 people were injured in the gunfire and are still in Cuban custody. It's believed at least one of those is a U.S. citizen. President Trump is still debating whether to carry out military strikes on Iran. Peace talks were held in Europe Thursday, and more talks are coming. But in the meantime, the military buildup continues, and fears of attack are leading to the evacuation of some U.S. personnel in the Middle East. Natalie Brand breaks it all down.
Vice President J.D. Vance is scheduled to meet with Oman's foreign minister Friday, a day after Oman mediated nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. Iran's foreign minister said they made good progress with additional technical talks scheduled for next week in Vienna. But the U.S. has its largest military buildup in the region in decades as the Trump administration weighs potential strikes against Iran. The vice president told the Washington Post he does not know what President Trump will decide, but said, quote, "The idea that we're going to be in a Middle Eastern war for years with no end in sight, there is no chance that will happen." Some lawmakers question the end game.
I'm deeply concerned that we are on the precipice of war with serious existential costs without any explanation.
The State Department issued an advisory Friday authorizing non-emergency U.S. government personnel and family members to leave Israel due to safety risks. Israeli citizens say they're always on heightened alert.
We always have a safe place. It's actually our bedroom in our house. So the safe place is always ready. We have water, we have emergency kit, we always have things that is ready over there in case. While the UN worries about regional escalation and the impact on civilians, Iran analysts say for now it's a good sign that both sides will keep talking. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The U.S. has told embassy staff in Israel they should leave today if they're hoping to get out of the country amid a possible strike with Iran. According to a source familiar with the matter, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee told staff in an email today that there's no reason to panic and this is purely cautionary. He says flights out of Israel will likely be in high demand and urged staff to fly anywhere that they can subsequently connect to Washington, D.C. Non-essential staff were already authorized to leave the country along with their families. These announcements came as the USS Gerald Ford carrier strike group arrived in northern Israel amid a potential strike on Iran. In other news tonight, authorities are returning Nancy Guthrie's home to her family, close to a month after she disappeared in an apparent kidnapping. It comes as a source says the FBI is moving its command post from Tucson to its headquarters in Phoenix as part of what's being called a long-term plan. The Celebration of Life memorial service is continuing in Chicago to honor the Reverend Jesse Jackson. A procession started yesterday from the Leak & Sons Funeral Home to the Rainbow Push headquarters, where the late Reverend will lie in repose for the next 2 days. Organizers expect a steady stream of people throughout the day. Emmy Award-winning comedian Cat Williams is creating a production hub for students in Anniston, Alabama. Williams is partnering with Miles College to create the hub at an old Army base, which will be called Kemet Movie Works. It will focus on giving students opportunities to work in artificial intelligence and augmented reality in film. The base already had some of the needed equipment, including 2 state-of-the-art sound stages. Williams says he's excited about leaning into the new world of AI and bringing diversity to the industry outside of Hollywood. A shakeup in the media landscape, Netflix has dropped its $83 billion bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. This clears the way for a deal with Paramount Skydance. Warner Brothers notified Netflix that Paramount Skydance's $31 per share offer was the superior proposal. Warner Brothers Discovery's assets include CNN, HBO, HGTV, while Paramount Skydance owns CBS News, Showtime, MTV, and Nickelodeon. Any merger will still need to be subjected to regulatory approval. More layoffs are coming to a variety of companies. Jack Dorsey's financial tech company Block says it will cut 40% of its workforce, affecting more than 4,000 jobs as it moves to AI throughout the organization. Block owns Cash App, Tidal, and Afterpay. Meanwhile, eBay says it's slashing 6% of its global workforce, which amounts to about 800 jobs. The e-commerce giant says the cuts are part of a restructuring to align the company with its strategic priorities. Transportation Security Administration workers will receive only a portion of their next paycheck. The reduced pay comes as the partial government shutdown ends its 2nd week with no resolution in sight. TSA union leaders say many employees are already struggling financially. These smaller paychecks will be the last many DHS employees receive until Congress comes to some sort of agreement to fund DHS for part or all of the fiscal year, which ends September 30th. In total, about 61,000 TSA employees must remain on the job to keep the more than 430 commercial airports running in the country during the shutdown. Good news for home buyers. Mortgage rates dipped below 6% this week for the first time since 2022. Freddie Mac says the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate fell to 5.98%. That's down from 6.01% last week. Now, rates have been on a steady decline since the Federal Reserve started slashing its benchmark interest rate in 2024. Well, looking ahead, tomorrow, IRS certified volunteers will be at the main library on Goodwood to help you file your taxes. You can scan the QR code on your screen to register. All you can do there, once you get there, is see a list of documents you'll need to bring with you. The event will run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. tomorrow. And after you get your taxes done, you can head downtown to enjoy the 225 Fest. This is the 4th year for the festival. Now, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. in Rural Plaza, that's where you need to be, helping to celebrate amongst so many people the culture and the best aspects of Baton Rouge. You can catch special performances from some local artists, and there are also going to be plenty of vendors and food trucks for you to enjoy. We'll learn more, or if you want to learn more, you can go to 225fest.com. And let's not forget this, second-ranked LSU gymnastics at the PMAC tonight, coming off a meet with top-ranked Oklahoma. It's the third-ranked Alabama. So the Tide roll in with back-to-back wins over Auburn and Arkansas. Before that, they also lost to Oklahoma, so just like LSU. Now, the Tigers will be looking to stay perfect at home, so no doubt the PMAC will be packed tonight. It's a late start. They hit the mat at 8:30. All right, when we come back, a closer look at your weekend forecast.